The evening sun was sinking low, its last golden threads slipping gently through the thin cotton curtains of the small weathered home. Dust motes swirled in the air, slow and unhurried, as if they too carried the weight of memory. The house smelled faintly of wood smoke, boiled herbs, and the lingering warmth of rice cooked hours before. In the center of the room sat the grandmother. Her body was small now, folded into itself over years of toil, but her presence filled the space with a quiet strength. Wrinkled hands rested in her lap, their skin thin, veins rising like rivers on a map. Those hands had kneaded dough, carried buckets of water, and held infants close in nights of fear. Now they lay still, a living testament to endurance. Her eyes, soft, clouded with age, watched the window where the last light played across the wooden floorboards. They were eyes that had seen too much, eyes that carried both the shadows of loss and the tender shine of love. When she blinked, it was as though time itself paused with her. The floor creaked lightly. A small pair of feet padded across the worn planks, quick but hesitant. Her grandchild appeared, carrying a bundle of innocence in their wide, curious gaze. The child's hair caught the glow of the setting sun, forming a faint halo around their small head. "Grandma," the child whispered, climbing onto the low stool beside her. The stool was too tall, too hard for the child's comfort, but they stayed, swinging legs that did not yet reach the ground. The grandmother turned slowly, her lips curving into a smile. Her smile was not effortless. It carried years within it, but when it came, it was like a fragile lantern lit against the dusk. "What is it, little one?" Her voice rasped, a blend of warmth and gravel, of lullaby and burden. The child fidgeted with the hem of their shirt, then leaned forward, resting their chin in small palms. Their eyes, round and unblinking, searched hers. "Can you tell me a story?" The grandmother chuckled softly, a sound like dry leaves brushing together. "A story? My child, I have too many stories. Which one do you wish to hear?" The child's brow furrowed in thought, then brightened. "One from when you were young, before you were grandma." The room fell silent for a moment. The request lingered in the air, heavy yet innocent. The grandmother lowered her gaze to her hands, as if the lines carved into her skin could remind her where to begin. She stroked the back of one hand with the other, feeling its roughness, its history. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer, slower, like the sound of an old violin string plucked gently in the dark. "I was young once, younger than you can imagine. I had dreams and fears, and a world that felt so big and bright." The child leaned closer, eyes shining, fingers reaching for her hand. When the small, warm hand wrapped around her cold, frail one, the grandmother felt a spark, like the bridge between yesterday and tomorrow had just been built. The last of the sunlight faded, leaving the room bathed in twilight. Shadows stretched long, but inside there was a glow. The glow of memory being summoned, the glow of love tying two generations together. And with that, the grandmother began. The night crept closer. The sun had set, leaving only the faint blush of twilight against the window pane. The old clock on the wall ticked unevenly, its rhythm like a tired heart. The grandmother reached for the small oil lamp beside her chair, striking a match with shaky fingers. The flame wavered, before settling into a steady glow, painting her face in soft amber light. The child's eyes followed every movement. The way the flame caught in the glass, the way shadows danced across the walls, even the way the grandmother's fingers trembled slightly as she adjusted the lamp. To the child, it all felt like magic, slow, patient magic from another world. On the low shelf nearby sat a faded photograph in a wooden frame. Its edges were chipped, the glass a little cracked. The child tilted their head, noticing it more now that the lamp's glow revealed the figures within. A young woman, not much older than the child's own mother, stood with her hair tied neatly back, her eyes steady, her smile faint but proud. "Grandma, who is that?" the child asked, pointing. The grandmother followed the gaze, her eyes landing on the photo. Her lips pressed together. For a long time she didn't answer. The air seemed to hold its breath. Finally, she exhaled. "That is me," she whispered. The child blinked, disbelief flashing across their face. They leaned closer, peering into the frame. "That's you, but you look so different." The grandmother chuckled softly, though her laugh was tinged with something the child didn't understand. "Time changes us, my little one. The face you see here, that was many, many years ago, when the world was different, when I was different." The child's eyes widened, sparkling with wonder. Tell me about when you looked like that." The grandmother turned her gaze away from the photograph and down toward the child. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with the heaviness of old memories, stirring awake. "Some stories are not easy to tell," she murmured. "They carry pain. And yet, they also carry the love that kept me alive." The child, not fully grasping her meaning, only nodded eagerly. "I don't mind. I want to know everything." Her heart softened at the earnestness in the child's voice. She reached out and placed her hand gently atop the child's small head. The hair beneath her palm was soft, the kind of softness she had once known when her own children were young. The warmth stirred something deep within her, and the barriers she had built around her past began to crumble. "Very well," she said quietly, her voice a fragile bridge between generations. "If you wish to hear, I will tell you." The child straightened, anticipation buzzing in their little body. Their small fingers found hers again, squeezing tightly, as though holding her hand could keep the story alive. The grandmother closed her eyes for a moment, breathing in deeply, summoning a world long gone. When she opened at them, they no longer looked at the room around her, but somewhere far away. Her gaze drifted beyond the walls, beyond the years, into the wide fields and narrow alleys of her youth. Her voice, when it came, slower, steadier, almost like the opening notes of a song carried on the wind. "I was born in a place of dust and sunlight, where the air smelled of soil after rain, and laughter echoed even in the poorest homes. My world was small, but to me it felt endless." The child leaned closer, eyes round, breath caught. The photograph on the shelf seemed to glow faintly in the lamplight, as though the younger woman within it had been waiting for this moment, for her story to live again in the ears of another. And so, with the hush of the night wrapping around them, the grandmother began her shiktas, a journey into memory. The grandmother's eye clouded, not with age this time, but with memory. Her voice softened, and the child leaned so close that their small ear nearly brushed her lips. "I was once as small as you," she began, with bare feet and hair tangled from running in the fields. "My village was simple, wooden homes with roofs patched from palm leaves, a well at the center where women carried water in clay jars and children running free, chasing each other until dusk swallowed the sky." As she spoke, the room around them seemed to melt away. The smoky walls of the present dissolved into sunlight and dust, until the child could almost see the world she described. Her younger self appeared, barefoot, skin browned by the sun, eyes bright with the boundless wonder of a child untouched by sorrow. She laughed with siblings, their voices ringing like bells. They darted between tall stalks of corn, their laughter chasing the hum of cicadas. "We didn't have toys like you do," the grandmother said. "We made our own. Little dolls from cloth scraps, kites from paper and bamboo, and marbles from smooth stones. But those simple things, oh, they brought us more joy than you can imagine." The child's lips curved into a smile. "Did you win at marbles, Grandma?" The grandmother chuckled, her voice shaking with both age and amusement. "Sometimes. But your great-uncle, my brother, he always cheated. He would hide marbles in his pocket when no one was looking." The child giggled, covering their mouth, eyes wide with delight. But the grandmother's smile soon faded into something gentler, quieter. She clasped her hands together, the bones sharp beneath her thin skin. "My parents, they worked so hard. My mother sang while she cooked, even when her hands were cracked from washing clothes in the river. My father, he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he still lifted me high when I ran to him. His arms were strong, and to me he was the safest place in the world." Her voice wavered slightly, but she pressed on. The images came like lanterns flickering to life in the darkness. She described sitting by the hearth at night, the glow of the fire painting her mother's face, the rich scent of rice and herbs filling the air. Her father's voice was deep, steady, telling them stories of ancestors who had braved storms and wars. They listened with wide eyes, much as her grandchild was listening now. Then she paused, her eyes lowering to the floor. A shadow crossed her face. "But happiness," she whispered, "does not last forever." The child tilted their head, their small brow furrowed. "What happened, Grandma?" The grandmother drew a long, quiet breath. Her eyes glistened as she looked not at the child, but at the memory only she could see. "My parents grew weak. Illness came into our home like an unwelcome guest. My mother's song grew faint, her hands too tired to stir the pot. My father's arms, they could no longer lift me. I was still a child, but the world asked me to grow too quickly." The room fell into silence, heavy with the weight of her words. The child reached for her hand instinctively, squeezing it with all the strength their little fingers could muster. The grandmother smiled faintly, though her voice trembled. "I learned, then, that life can take as easily as it gives, that joy and sorrow often walk hand in hand. But I also learned something else, that even in the darkest nights, love leaves its light behind." The lamp beside them flickered, as though echoing her words. The child leaned against her arm, their heart pressed close, carrying her story as if it already belonged to them. And in that dimly lit room the past was alive again, breathing, aching, glowing, woven gently into the present.